Coach Korn here, just touching base with you real quick before we kick off our next Fast Track course, Make the Phone Ring Again, on April 1st. So I was looking through the one thing again, just kind of going back through the book over and over and over again, and I found a section that really just stood out about how this course, how this Fast Track course, Make the Phone Ring Again, was designed. And it was just funny how putting this thing together, how it just fit into this section of the book. So I know if you have your book on page 55, where Gary's talking about a disciplined life. And I'm just going to read a section out of here and tell you how this course applies to this section of the book. But the very top of the page, he talks about how success is actually a short race. It's a sprint fueled by discipline just long enough for a habit to kick in and take over. See, when we know something that needs to be done, but it's not currently getting done, we often say, I just need more discipline. But actually, we need the habit of doing it. And we need just enough discipline to build that habit. So in any discipline about success, the words discipline and habit ultimately intersect. Though separate in meaning, they powerfully connect to form the foundation for achievement, regularly working at something until it regularly works for you. When you discipline yourself, you're essentially training yourself to act in a specific way. This is one of the things that I've done over the last 6 to 7 years with our database, was by just focusing on 5 a day and being in that database and adding 5 a day. Before I even built up the systems, my focus was to get in the habit of feeding it every day. Otherwise, setting up all these systems really didn't mean anything. It was a waste of time. So until I built that habit and it was just happening, that's how I did it. And really another easy way to read a habit is repetition. Reading pages 133 through 148 over and over and over again helped me form that habit. It wasn't discipline, it was a habit. So when you discipline yourself, you're essentially training yourself to act in a specific way. Stay with this long enough and it becomes a routine. In other words, a habit. So when you see people that look disciplined, you're really seeing people who have trained themselves really, truly to have a habit formed that just happens automatically. And then just to kind of finish up, this was just, I couldn't believe this. It was so real. Who would want to be disciplined anyway, really, is what Gary's talking about here. The very thought of having your every behavior modeled and maintained by training seems frighteningly impossible on one hand and utterly boring on the other. So I got to tell you, talking about being in your database every day and making calls for 2 hours every day, we're going to talk about that here in a second, but it just doesn't sound exciting as putting together a killer marketing campaign that has like 12 real killer headlines, and we're going to blast it out to 5,000 people over the next 12 months. So it just sounds more boring than just doing 5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day. But most people ultimately reach this conclusion, but seeing no alternative, they redouble their efforts at the impossible or quietly quit. Frustration shows up and resignation eventually sits in. And that's the part where he gets into the 66 days to develop a habit. Guys, the Fast Track course is designed over 16 weeks. The first 2 months of this course are really just to get the information, get their mindset straight, and introduce some exciting systems. Like, for example, when they hear about the 5 a day, they're going to be excited about 5 a day. Now, the last 2 months of the course, there's 16 calls. The last 2 months of the course are the 66 days to actually anchor the habit. It takes the first couple of months to get them excited about 5 a day, to really be working on 5 a day. I help them develop an automatic follow-up system to keep them plugged into their database every day. And by the second half of the course, we're going to anchor that habit. So it was specifically designed for that when I wrote it, because that's how I accomplished it. It was about just sticking with it over and over and over. And it didn't look like fun when I was doing it. I mean, there were days where I was sitting at my desk stuffing envelopes because nobody else felt it was that important and they had more important things to focus on. And I knew that if those letters didn't get out and we had the next 5 coming in and the next 5 coming in the next day and the next 5 after that, that it would all pile up and it wouldn't work. So that's what the course is designed for. I really hope you'll join us on this Fast Track course. I hope you get it on your calendar. It's going to be on Mondays at 10:30 Central. We're kicking it off on April 1st, just because it's going to take time for this to turn around. It took me about 6 months to start seeing results. So anyway, that course is coming up April 1st. I just wanted to give you one more little tidbit because it really lined up with what Gary put in the book.